Hi, my name is Sam Garwell. I'm from Seabreeze High School, candidate number 2735 from Center UX 412. And I'm going to be talking about coastal erosion from an environmental perspective. These photographs are taken by my phone as I walked about 5 minutes away from my school campus and was able to see a lot of coastal erosion and some animals that live here. What is coastal erosion? We've all heard of weathering breaks it, erosion takes it. And toolkit.gov from NOAA states that local sea level rise, strong wave action, and coastal flooding all have to do with this problem. As we can see on the right, there's a graph that shows CO2 levels are rising. CO2 is a greenhouse gas, and it makes the environment warm up as hot air isn't able to escape. According to NOAA, 90% of this air gets trapped in the oceans, making storms happen more often than ever and coasts recede more often than ever. Poyang Lake sand removal. To start off, you will see several patterns with how the development of human communities have affected coastal erosion. In Poyang, there has been millions of tons of sand being removed. This has caused a lot of disasters to the environment and wildlife in the area, as the sand being removed has made rivers widen and sea levels drop, making droughts happen more often than ever. Animals such as finless dolphins, local fish, and endangered birds have all suffered. Atmos, which provides well-researched, up-to-date, peer-reviewed articles written by experts with missions to inform environmental issues. And NOAA, which is a federal agency that has peer-reviewed data, is created by experts. This is an example of sediment moving from one place to another, which is coastal erosion, but it also has an extra significance as coasts around the world are eroding more than ever, which they need more sand now. Needing more sand has made places like Shanghai or Poyang lose sand, and their environments have taken a toll. That means that sand removal to be put into other places so their coasts stop receding might not be the best solution. Here are the effects. The river here is pretty narrow, and over here it's clearly wider. Mekong, Cambodia. Coastal zones are eroding. So, as you can see in this photo, by a local resident, a street has fell off. These coastal zones are eroding due to not the wave action and wind action. There hasn't been a major change, but it's all linked to human activities, such as groundwater extraction, commercial sand mining, and dam retention. This has killed mangroves and seagrasses necessary for survival. Mangroves are keystone species, which we learned in Cambridge Marine Science class. Keystone species are very valuable to the environment. They don't just hold one place. They allow for several different species to survive. This is not just a loss to the wildlife, but it also holds the sand into place. Mangroves, according to a PubMed study, have caused zero erosion during hurricanes, and without mangroves, places without mangroves had 9.7 meters of shoreline erosion. PubMed has researchers affiliated with reputable institutions such as University of Houston and Texas A&M. Additionally, mangroves can reduce wave action by 66% over a 100-meter wide belt and up to 100% over a 500 meter belt. Egypt. So, to solve coastal erosion, there are several engineering solutions that are engineered. These include jetties, breakwaters, and seawalls, although they might not be the best solution. This is because jetties are a double-edged sword. In one area, jetties have allowed sand to accumulate, while in another area it's caused even more coastal erosion. That means that it might not be the best solution. In an area where jetties weren't placed, they had to put in breakwaters into place and seawalls. This is stated as, in a response to ongoing coastal erosion, 6 meter long wide of seawall was constructed in 2000, but in 1994 to 1997, shoreline west of the western jetty accreted an average of 13 meters of sand a year, and on the eastern side, they lost 5 meters a year. So basically, in the 1980s, they put into place these jetties, although in the 2000s, they had to put a seawall down in another area because the jetties caused more erosion over there. That means that it might not be economically smart to utilize these engineered solutions. Additionally, even though these seawalls and breakwaters were installed, they require continuous maintenance to maintain their effectiveness, including annual sand nourishment and structural support to keep the elevation of it 4 to 6 meters above the sea. So here they have to use sand nourishment to stop coastal erosion, which we obviously know previously in Shanghai that coastal erosion has been caused by the removal of sand and has affected the wildlife over there. All these quotes are from MDIP journal published in 2022, which has a rigorous peer review process and no apparent bias, and is published by credible researchers. In Florida, locally. So beach nourishment is also needed over here in Florida. As we can see, sea turtles nest here, and in the first slide of this PowerPoint, we saw many small birds on the beach living. But these are seawalls. Seawalls are put into place to stop areas behind the sea from getting eroded, but this undermines that animals live on the sea. As we can see in this infographic by UF, we can see that without a seawall, the beach maintains its width even after a storm. And with a seawall, the beach initially has sand on it, and then at the end, it loses all of its sand. And we could see rust over here on this seawall and water accumulated over here. This is because waves go straight into the seawall and take even more sand than not even having a seawall, which is very bad for sea turtles nesting as they lose a lot of habitat to live. Additionally, although currently protected by Florida law, mangroves in large areas of Florida, such as Tampa Bay and the Charlotte Harbor, have lost 50 to 60%. This is by the Florida Museum of Natural History and is credible and supported by NOAA and Florida Fish and Wild Commissions, which are authoritative sources. Solutions. We clearly need stricter laws, as laws have been in place all over the world, but mangrove loss is still happening and coastal erosion is happening more than ever. Less CO2 emissions, as with the emissions there have been more storms and coastal erosion is happening at more places than ever. And natural barriers. If we keep removing mangroves, we're not going to be able to have the coasts we have right now. And with the engineered solutions, we're losing more coasts. Summary. Multiple clear patterns can be seen. Urbanization and coastal erosion. Over the world, urbanization has impacted coastal erosion, and we have lost a lot of seas. Mangrove loss and engineered solutions. Engineered solutions have damaged wildlife and are not beneficial. Here are my works cited.